ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome to the CSL. We have a terrific lineup for you guys tonight. It's going to be RIT facing off against UConn. Two of the stronger performing teams last year, both from the Northeast quarter. How are you feeling about this matchup tonight, Ravi?
This is going to be a pretty fun one, Joe, and I'll tell you why. It is just because anytime we get to see UConn, University of Connecticut, it is just a delight. It's always just a bundle of fun. As someone who is a big fan of cheese, being cheesy, and just generally frustrating my opponents, I'm always a huge fan whenever we get to watch these guys. But only time will tell if that's exactly how things will go, as we do also have RIT, also a pretty decent team, but they did suffer a big loss when Poke Bunny, one of their premier Terran players, like a player that has actually competed in the WCS circuit and all kinds of other crazy cool stuff, graduated. So no longer playing for RIT. And I think since then, they've kind of really suffered that big loss where they don't have that kind of big power player anymore. And it hurts in the CSL. Sure, it's a team league, but having that one power player really adds a lot of potential to your team. It takes a lot of the stress out of those 1v1s.
Yeah, especially with the revive that's offered by the Pro League format. If it does come down to the ace match, if having someone like Poke Bunny in your back pocket that can just come out again and win is a really powerful tool. And I think losing that is kind of reflected in these guys' overall season scores. We have UConn heading up their group right under Temple with just a 3-1 score, only losing to Temple themselves, whereas RIT struggling a bit more to get going. They are down 1-3. And as we start to get into this game, we're going to see if they can turn things around. I think if they could beat UConn tonight, that could be signs of greater things to come, maybe finally starting to mesh as a team and get their chemistry.
Oh, absolutely. And while UConn does still have some of its kind of macro players, as not everybody on Team UConn is exactly a good old cheeser, if you will, there are still some very, very solid players. But okay, let's go ahead and jump into our first game. Introduce those players.
Spawning here in the top right-hand corner, wearing the pink shorts, it is our Purple Protoss player, H-Jax.
And his opponent, spawning down in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Protoss player representing Team RT or RIT. Give it up for Bew.
Whose name sounds like the gun, or the noise a laser gun would make in a sci-fi movie. Pew pew.
Now, I think he also goes by the name CT78, just at least on the Collegiate Star League website. So for anyone wondering, you know, why is this person over here? But one thing I really do already like about Bew is the fact that, one, he's going for a probe scout. He's not neglecting that against a player like HX, who has not always gone for the cheesy plays, but has definitely shown that he's willing to. He is still a bit of a macro player, but also, funny enough, I really like this skin. I love this probe skin right now from Bew.
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome. And it shows, I was about to say it shows he plays the game, but I guess you don't need to play to unlock the worker skin, right? You just get that when you buy it.
Yeah, it's one of the purchasable ones. It's, I think, like the Junker skin for the probe. They released like a set of 3 different Junker skins: the SCV, the probe, and the drone one as well.
All right, well, he's getting his scout off. I do think there's probably a bit of a skill mismatch between H-Jax and Bew when we look at them. H-Jax, for those of you guys that don't know, I would count him as kind of an up-and-coming player in the North American competitive scene. Yeah. He hasn't quite made it into Challenger or any of the WCS circuit, but he'll break out into the playoff stages at some of the bigger lands. He'll have some deep runs in the qualifiers, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is the year that he can make a breakout. Bew, I think, is maybe a little lesser known. He's going to be kind of on the back foot against a player of H-Jax's caliber.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good description of H-Jax also. H-Jax is like that player, if we were talking about, say, like football or something. He was one of those players that in high school is considered a really good player. He gets recruited for college and everything. He's definitely up there, but he's not quite playing college ball just yet. People who don't really know a lot about him, I mean, a majority of people really aren't going to know a whole lot about him. He hasn't actually gotten a chance to play with the big boys just yet. But But you already see that he's getting a little bit cheeky over here. I was talking about how HX does have a tendency or an ability to throw out a little bit cheese, and we already see that proxy Stargate coming down for HX that is going to go more or less undetected. And HX also doing a good job keeping those adepts alive and being very annoying with them.
Yeah, he was able to recognize that he took those first couple of shots, so isn't going to commit too hard into things here. Once again, though, Bu doing a good job of warding HJax off. And so far, Bu is not venturing out. He's not seeing that Stargate, and the first Oracle is cranking on up right now.
Now, the scary thing about the Oracle right now is the Chrono Boost allows the Oracle to come out so fast. But unfortunately for HX, he has the Chrono Boost available, but isn't using it, so maybe a little bit preoccupied with that Adept harassment. Now the Oracle gets Chrono Boosted out a little bit on the later side, but still going to be helpful at getting out even just a few seconds faster. Here it goes, and there's only 2 Stalkers around right now, so with the 3rd and 4th Stalkers popping out, it is going to be about whether or not they see the Oracle already correcting the rally point. This is actually a really good reaction from Bu.
Yeah, this Oracle is going to start to chip away and get some kills off, which is nice. 4 kills. It's going to back off here. HJax is going for a second Oracle, though, so you're going to want a lot more than 4 kills out of that investment. And I'll be curious to see if he's able to find that now that Bu's been kind of tipped off to what's going on here.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, HJax is actually not sitting in a great position right now. Yeah, he does have that natural expansion on the way, and with Warp Gate technology finishing up, this is where he can put on a bit more pressure and maybe make some more damage happen, but he needs to make more damage happen. He's focused firing down more workers with these Adepts, while the Oracles try to make their way into that main base to join forces with the Adepts and try and get some more damage done.
Yeah, and it looks like the DPS on the double Oracle is absolutely enormous. They're going to keep picking away at these probes, wasting some shots on these Stalkers, though.
You know what, honestly, Joe, at this point, I actually think that they've done enough damage, though. The Adepts joined with the Oracles on the second wave of aggression, do an absurd amount of damage, killing off almost 10, 15 workers. And that combined with the few worker kills that the Adepts are able to get early, or the Oracle was able to get earlier on, able to get 4 kills, that totals up to 19, and that actually puts Bu down to an all-in position. But behind this, HJax should be able to warp in enough defenses, and the shield battery acts as a huge defensive measure that just Protoss players, it's almost as good as puts an overcharge in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and you've got to keep in mind that we are on Akalote, which means HJax going to be defending the high ground, going to warp in some sentries here, identifying that. There's not like a big wide open ramp. He just needs to defend on 2 bases, and he knows that he's going to be in an okay position, especially when he just made another Oracle to go kill more probes.
And the sentries are ready to force field these Stalkers in. The shield battery actually not healing quite fast enough to deal with all of these Stalkers. So he ends up losing both of his sentries, but still kills off 2 Stalkers in exchange. And while you mentioned this before, Oracle moves in, gets a few more kills, and Bu still is not even at the starting worker count just yet.
Oh god, absolutely brutal. A total of 23 workers have gone down. HJax knows he just needs to sit and defend here. He's going to have an observer out so he can look for any kind of cheeky shenanigans coming in from any direction. And he's just going all out defense. This is turtle to win, Ravi.
It's actually a really unfortunate. I really do feel like Bu, there's a good chance that he may have seen that the Oracles or something were coming out, and maybe he wanted to go for a Dark Shrine. Even though, yes, Oracles can throw down Revelation, reveal Dark Templar, if you split up your Dark Templar, the Oracles oftentimes don't have that much energy if they're continuously harassing, so there's an opportunity that he could have had to maybe move in and get an easy win that way, but it doesn't seem like he's going to be able to do it since he threw down the double Twilight Council. It's a lot of wasted gas, and he loses out an opportunity to research something like Blink and go for some other kind of aggression, which also could have actually been what he was going for with how many Stalkers he was making. But Bu's game plan sort of just fell through in this game after all of that Oracle aggression caught him off guard.
Yeah, I think HJax is starting to feel a little bit safer now. He's starting to get out his power units. He's throwing down his Forge, so maybe looking to get that +1 attack upgrade on these Stalkers and Immortals. Bu on the other side of the map going for the desperation move that we all know and love. It's the Dark Shrine. And I think this is going to be his Hail Mary, his last shot. We were talking about football, and he's kind of make it all happen right now.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing right now, though, is that he has got so few workers that he's not even mining off of his second gas geyser. That actually might be a bit of a mistake at this point, since I think he does want a little bit more gas to try and make a few DT warp-ins work, not just 1 or 2. He really does want at least like 3 or 4, but even with that, there is already an observer out for HJax. HJax has a robotics facility. HJax has a Forge. He can even plant down photon cans if he really sees this coming. And he's getting a third base. I mean, the number of ways that H-Jax is currently ahead of View is just continuously growing as this game goes on.
Yeah, it's not getting any better. I mean, even the Oracle on the other side of the map can see that Dark Shrine come home and just try to help defend. But H-Jax is actually feeling confident enough that he's going to go ahead and throw down his third. And we talked about H-Jax being kind of a cheesy player, but right now he's feeling like he can just macro his heart out.
Yeah, I think whenever I talk to H-Jax, he always says, no, you keep calling me a cheesy player, but really, I'm a macro player. But it's just funny because every single time I watch him, it's like, oh, he's going for a little bit of a cheese. But he does actually legitimately have good macro behind this. And I think he does find a lot of comfort in that. He likes to mix in the cheeses, which is good. But ultimately, he is kind of the player that prefers to be macroing. And he's got blink out, so his opponent realizes, okay, I can't really get a whole lot more done there. He's going to come in with the DT. And honestly, Joe, it wouldn't even surprise me that much if this DT comes in, gets sniped off, and View even just GG's. Well,
there's
gonna
the
stick
snipe.
out. Yeah. That's a really hard loss, though.
We've talked about this in the CSL before, where sometimes maybe your team member had an exam and is running a little bit late. So you're like, all right, I'm behind, but I don't know if he's in his room yet. Like, we want to have him play. I'm going to lose this game, but I'm going to lose it as slow as possible. I'm going to do my part to help make him be able to get there. I'm going to try to maybe go to a base race. I'm just going to keep cranking out defensive units. And then the second he hops on Discord, you hear his voice in your ear, and you're like, GG.
Yeah. It's a little funny how things go. But at the same time, I also do think that PvP is one of those matchups where things can turn around on a dime. There are a lot of different plays in PvP where if you catch your opponent off guard, you can immediately pull yourself back in the game with disruptor drops or even just disruptor play in general. Dark Templars are one of the attempted things that we saw that oftentimes can actually just win games or suddenly pull yourself back from the brink of defeat. Now, unfortunately, it does seem like View going for that Dark Templar play didn't pan out. His opponent is the one with disruptors rather than him, as View is just trying to add on Templar Archives, maybe get out some Archons, but I just don't know if he's going to have the time to really get use of them.
Yeah, there is going to be the defensive advantage of this shield battery, and we've seen them make miracles happen already since the patch. The Disruptor is going to be stepping up, throwing out their first shots. Nice pick off from H-Jax.
Yeah, these Disruptors have an incredibly low cooldown now. They will be able to fire off a ton of shots very quickly, killing off the Sentry. The Stalkers have already used their blanking. Guess what? A second Disruptor shot is available. GG. All the Stalkers go down, and H-Jax takes victory for game number 1.
Yeah, so congratulations to UConn. They are going to be going up 1-0, guys. Our next map is going to be Odyssey. And it looks like we're going to have Color from RIT playing against Print F. Should be some cheeky cannon rush shenanigans. So refill your drinks or grab a snack, whatever you need to do. Don't go anywhere because we will be right back.
but she said, trust me, these are the stories we will tell. As I stood frozen, infinite, I almost fell, but I got a feeling.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the CSL. We're going to be hopping into our second map in just a moment. It's going to be Odyssey versus Color. I believe his full name is I Love Coloring on the roster.
Yep, I Love Coloring is his name on the roster for RIT. It's going to be an interesting one just because Printf, for those who don't know, is a master class cannon rusher. There's just no other description for him. You'll have to see him in action, and he is unabashedly a cannon rusher. He loves that his opponents know who he is. He enjoys it. But versus Zerg, he does have a bit of an interesting time in the cannon rush. We'll talk about it as we hop into the game and introduce the players, though.
Spawning here in the bottom right-hand corner, he is the yellow Zerg playing for RIT. Give it up for Color.
And his opponent, spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the green Protoss player representing Team UConn and setting up 1-0. Give it up for Printf. Computer science student, thus the name Printf.
So you know that Printf is gonna have that probe skin on, right? He could unlock the whole war chest, and he just I just want maybe the carriers, because he does do that thing.
Yeah, he does do carriers as well as Tempest sometimes.
Out of his opponent's natural, which is of course the natural place to produce carriers.
Oh, this is actually a golden situation for Printf. So I was talking about some of the difficulties that you can find yourself in as a cannon rushing Protoss player against a Zerg. One of the biggest difficulties that you can sometimes face is that your opponent is going to go for both of their gas geysers. If they get both gas geysers down, you do not get that gas steal that he just went for. Your opponent can get a very fast Ravage just to break out of that base. But we do see that it is a pretty early pull. This is going to be Color's response, but funny enough, I don't actually think this is going to necessarily be the best response because Printf moves out very early with his probes. He's going to see this coming. He has a forge, and he can very easily throw down photon cannons back at home defensively and even effectively cannon rush this hatchery on the low ground.
Yeah, I mean, there are like some things you can do with the proxy hatch response, but I feel like it's contingent on getting up the spines at the right time and trying to push up the ramp that way. And it doesn't look like Color's in a position to do that. There's already photon cannons cutting off the path that his drones would need to walk by, and those drones would need to left by now if he wanted to do a spine crawler rush.
Oh man, and even a second photon cannon is going to be going up down at the natural expansion right now of Color. So as he takes out that assimilator with his 2 lings and the queen, he is losing precious time to actually escape out of there with any units he's going to be making, any of these roaches that he wants to make. And he's actually not even making roaches right now. So I guess maybe he's just moved on with his game plan, or maybe he just doesn't know about these cannons.
Well, he knows now. The first ling is actually going to die. That's really painful. Every unit so important in these situations. And it looks like he wants to do this with pure ling, but Printf is ahead of the game here. He's going to get that first photon cannon up. And this is really tough to break without queens and spines and lings. You really want to have the queens and spines take all the damage, and then have the lings flood through once you carve that opening in, and it doesn't look like we've got quite the punch to do that.
Now, it's very important to note that there is a robotics facility going down at the proxy location for Printf. This is pure Printf kind of logic, where he says, oh, well, you know what I realized? The safest place to throw down my very important tech is over at my opponent's natural, because that's where all my photon cannons are protecting it. So he gets that robo up, and he's going to be able to also get very aggressive with them. And one photon cannon up on the high ground is going to be very difficult to break without a large number of units. Color doesn't quite have that just yet. And now with the shield batteries being introduced, he can easily repair the photon cannons. One thing I want to note, though, on the micro side of this is actually a little bit harder than it would look, because shield batteries do not automatically regenerate the shields of Protoss buildings. So I don't believe they do. So I think that Printf is manually targeting these photon cannons to heal them. But at least that's my understanding. But here we go. The Roaches and Ravagers trying to break through Printf at the natural.
Oh, he's going to be pulling back here. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to get that final Roach. But Printf continuing to build up his army here on the other side of the map. Color needs to spend some of his minerals, but he's not supply blocked. I'd love to see some more roaches. I think you're more likely to break your opponent on the other side of the map than you are to try to break through right now. Like, imagine if he had 3 Ravagers dropping Biles on that cannon.
Yeah, it gets a little bit difficult because now with the Immortals out, in order to get in range of the cannon, this is what I was talking about, you immediately going to be taking shots from those Immortals. So you don't want to risk losing them. You don't want to have to use all of your energy from these Queens transfusing the Ravagers before you even really engage. So you can get some damage in, but you need enough to almost one-shot that Photon Cannon. I think that's kind of what he might be waiting for. But this is also rough because he's got that hatchery that he's invested into on the other side of the map. Has literally given him 0 value so far.
That's what I was. I wish that he had been doing more on the other side of the map. I just think there's more opportunity to break the 2 photon cannons there than there is to try to break all these photon cannons with Immortals and Adepts.
Yeah, and then there's this decision to go for the hatchery over the gold. I do like it in some ways. It's going to be a lot easier to mine over there, but I'd love if you actually if he was just going to make drones at your opponent's natural and start mining from there, because it's very clear that Printf is not going to be breaking out of there anytime soon.
Yeah, and oh man, I would have loved to see a Queen spend that larva, but I guess it's really tough to make these decisions in the heat of the moment, right? That's why guys like Rogue are so good, and they can respond to crazy stuff really, really quickly. Color really struggling a bit here.
Disruptor's on the way now, and the Warp Prism is already out as well, so this increases the micro potential from Printf by tenfold right now. You can also see that Printf is doing a really nice job of just keeping an eye on his opponent's natural base over at his side of the map with this Adept. And he's actually going to see that since there's nothing there, he's going to start to work away at it with the Adept, eventually get a cleanup on that. There are 3 drones over by Printf's gold that are getting ready to mine when that hatchery finishes. And that's going to be a huge boost in economy for Color. But here we go. Oh, God, taking a big shot from the Disruptor, losing one of the Ravagers.
Yeah, that's a tough start here. Some of the Ravagers are going to try to get shots off, but Printf on top of his micro pulls those units out of the way. Color does get some Lings out that are going to clean up the Adept, but...
Oh, God. And Disruptor is doing some more damage, killing another one of the Queens for Color. Printf really putting on the pressure, and I feel like he's almost at that point where he's going to be able to bust on through and just go up that ramp. As soon as he feels comfortable with it and he feels like he has enough Disruptors, this really becomes problematic because that Warp Prism also just adds, again, so much micro potential.
Well, Printf going to pull back to those shield batteries, get his unit's shields recharged, and in this moment of respite, I just want to remind you guys, we are watching a 1-base proxy Disruptor push with cannons.
That is a Printf special. That is just something that really only happens in Printf games.
Oh man, these
Lord.
Disruptor shots going to continue to clean up the Ravagers. Down to just 3 is Color. And I think this is going to be the beginning of the end here. I think Printf could probably just move and take the game.
I mean, there's a good chance that maybe that'll be the case, but he is going to play it out a little bit safer. He doesn't know how many more units are behind this necessarily just yet, but as he pokes on forward, he kills off one of the final 2 Ravagers. There's a lot of Spine Crawlers going down, which I like from Color because, well, Disruptor shots don't actually trigger on the Spine Crawlers, and they are relatively well spread out, but the Immortals are going to have something to say about these Spines. And at the end of the day, like you said, Joe, there's just a few too many Protoss units.
Yeah, it looks like Printf going to get that final push in. GG is called, and Printf takes the second map for UConn, putting him up with a clean 2-0.
All right, UConn bringing out the cheese and able to take a very quick 2-0 lead. Now we go into our 2v2, and that 2v2 match is going to be very important. This is oftentimes the beginning of a big momentum break for teams that don't necessarily have that kind of key, strong 1v1 player that can contend with a lot of the top GM level players that we end up seeing in the CSL. The 2v2 acts as that kind of breaking point, and then you just have to win that other 1v1, and you suddenly bring into that ace match, and there's hope renewed. Maybe you can make it work. So we'll see if RIT can actually make that happen, or if UConn is going to take a quick 3-0 sweep.
So don't go near, guys. We will be right back. and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the CSL. We are jumping into our third map of the evening. UConn has a 2-0 lead, so this could be our final map.
It is definitely looking a little bit rough right now for Team RIT, but again, that 2v2 has proven the critical to be the critical kind of game where we end up seeing those momentum breaks. But we'll see if that ends up happening. Kind of interesting to note is that this is going to be a Protoss Terran versus a Protoss Zerg, and I've been loving in Legacy of the Void. We've just seen so many different switch ups of 2v2 compositions, and it really is refreshing because I feel like there were periods of time in Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm where you just end up seeing the same 2v2 compositions over and over again. Zerg Terran versus Zerg Terran all the time, and we get a lot of variety these days in 2v2.
Well, without further ado, introducing our 2v2 teams in the bottom left-hand corner. Playing for UConn, we have our red Zerg, Rookwood, and his green partner, the green Protoss player. It is Turkey Dano.
And they are going to be playing for University of Connecticut, but over by that orange little dot on the minimap, we have our orange Terran player. Give it up for Flame Renter and his teammate, the blue Protoss player. It's Bew, representing Team RIT.
All right. So they have to make something happen here, RIT does, if they want to try to turn this series around. Like, winning this map, it's by no means a guarantee for victory, but you have to do it. It's the first step. There's no longer any missteps allowed, no room for error. So your back's against the wall, right? What are you going to bust out? No time for holding back. This has got to be your best moves.
Yeah, we already see a double gateway opening over here from Bew, so that already signals that maybe it's looking to go for that kind of early, this is a pretty typical opening in PvP, which there is a Protoss on the other side of the map, so maybe looking to go for a double Stalker or a double Adept opening to try and put on some pressure, do some economic damage, while his teammate Flame Renter going for a nice old 1-Rax expansion, getting up a very fast tech lab, actually. I don't even think, yeah, it doesn't have a single Reaper or anything else, so this is a very curious opening from Flame Renter.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see something fired up right away. I mean, he's got the gas for stim just about, but it doesn't look like he's going to be going for anything quite of that magnitude right now. Just
yeah, I'm really wondering if this is going to be some kind of really fast stim and combat shields push from Flame Renter to time out with a really big power push from Bew as well. Bew actually opting to get that second gas geyser before going for his own Nexus and that kind of back natural expansion. But on the other side of the map, we also see that Turkey Dano doing a sort of similar thing. He's not really going for that expansion just yet, whereas his teammate, the Zerg player Rookwood, does go for the expansion, but it's a little more typical for Zerg players to expand a bit earlier anyways.
Yeah, so I do know Rookwood as a guy that makes a lot of lings, and we are seeing those lings being made. He likes to get the speed out, maybe get a Baneling Nest, and just attack. It looks like Flame Renter going for Concussive Shell. That's an interesting choice this early in the game.
Yeah, it's sort of weird, honestly, Joe, just because I feel as though both Bew and Flame Renter are mostly just worrying about Turkey Dino. Like, both of their builds, I feel like, are well suited for a PvT, but having Marauders out is really nice versus Stalkers. And yeah, it can also be kind of nice versus Roaches, but as we see two Stalkers for Bew trying to get hyper aggressive over here, actually doing a nice job with the micro. So these Lings are going to be coming in. Ling speed will finish up. He's going to be able to get a full cleanup over there. And this Proxy Stargate from Turkey Dano is going to be able to do a ton of damage to the Void Ray because there's no Marines. He was making Marauders from that Tech Lab barracks.
Yeah, that's really painful as the Void Ray starts to rain down Hellfire on everything. And I don't think Flame Renter has anything that shoots up at this point. I wonder if they had an idea of what Turkey Dano likes to do, and they decided, we're just going to try to hard counter it, and sometimes you gamble and lose.
Yeah, this is a little unfortunate, just because I actually think just the Void Rays alone had Flame Renter pretty much dead to rights, because if he gets out a second Void Ray, off of one barracks, you're just never going to outproduce the Void Rays in terms of damage with Marines from one Marine popping out at a time. But the Lings will clean up and finish the deal, so Now they just have to worry about one more opponent. And remember, they are already up 2-0. If they win this game, they win the series 3-0.
Yeah, the Lings from Rookwood going to come flooding in here, getting into the mineral line. The shield barrier provides some buffer for the moment, but once that's down, so much surface area for these Lings to chew away at absolutely everything. And some of these Lings even idling. I don't think Rookwood is too worried. He just wants to hold position here and ride out this victorious feeling.
And there is going to be the GG. Bew tapping out, Flame Ranger tapping out, and we're going to see, of course, University of Connecticut taking the 3-0 sweep, bringing them to a solid 4-1 in this season of CSL so far.
Yeah, super clean series by UConn. Really well done by them. Big congratulations. We're getting towards the end of the first split of CSL here. We wrap up for the fall season. We let everyone go home and spend the holidays with their families. And then we come back for the second semester in the spring. So we're going to be off for Thanksgiving. And then I think we come back for one more week after that. And then I think that's it for the fall winter season. So big thank you to our sponsor, Twitch. If you want to join the CSL community, you can use the command !Discord in chat. The robot will give you a nice little link to get in there. And other than that, thank you guys so much. Have a terrific Thanksgiving with your family. I'm Joe. This is Ravi. And we'll see you guys next time.
Final call is called.